Welcome to Jurassic Park.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Why don't we just wait here for a little while?
Do you want to know what it is?
There's no knowing where you might be swept off to.
Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope.
Shepherds we shall be, for thee, my Lord, for thee.
I don't know. I'm making this up as I go.
There's a special rug in hell reserved for people who waste good scotch.
He peed on my rug!
He peed on the dude's rug.
Do your worst.
Final report of the commercial starship Nostromo.
Roads? Where we're going, we don't need roads.
Welcome to your feature presentation. I am your host, Heath Paul. Today we are talking about movies coming out this weekend and our top 10 Steven Spielberg movies. Joining me today is Andrew McKay.
In our neighborhood, everyone has something special to share. Are you into gaming, art, music, or just hanging out? There's a place for you here.
Oh,
Are you ready to dive in? Let's go, neighbor.
beautiful. I like that. Is that a new intro?
It's if Mr. Rogers was to greet Gen Z, that's what he would say
Beautiful.
via Chat GPT. That's what they think. That's what it thinks? Is it a single Chat GPT?
Like Pennywise it? Or are we talking...
I would call Chat GPT a Pennywise it for sure.
Right. Like it emerges every 20 years, 27 years. and
Yeah.
Tries to take over.
Before, yeah.
Yeah,
I would
which-
call it that before I would call it a plural person.
Okay. That's fair. A Pennywise.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we've got so much to talk about today. It's going to be a fun episode. This is one of those ones where we're like, should we trim stuff down? Because there's so much stuff that we have just been burning in our brains that we need to talk about. So yeah, we're going to talk about new movies coming out this weekend, top 10 Spielberg movies. But firstly, I want to shout out a podcast that shouted us out again.
Ayo.
And it cracked me up because they forgot they already shouted us out. We did an episode with the Doodads, and they, specifically Justin, I'm going to call Justin out, forgot that they already said that on their podcast. So I was like, hey, another shout out. And I put it as a reel. So that was super fun.
What a hoot and holler and good time that was.
Yeah. I think we should have them on again. That was super fun.
I think so.
Yeah. Our episode on The Visit. Go check that out. That was fun. So the next thing I want to talk about here, let's jump to movies right away. So we get those movies out, and then we'll dive into our topics and then get to Spielberg. We'll get to you. Gosh, Steven, calm down. He's actually with
Chill,
me.
Steven.
We have him in the side room. He's just, in the green room. But
Off camera.
yeah, he won't come on camera and he won't say anything. You won't hear him, but he is here kind of keeping this in line because he heard we were doing this episode.
That's nice.
So yeah, I thought that was cool. He stopped by. I was like, "Oh, what's up, Stevie?" And he's like, "Hey, you cool if I sit in?" And it's like, "All right, that sounds good." Awesome. All right, so let's go. So what movies do we have going out this weekend? Looks like
we have Bad Boys, Ride or Die.
What you gonna do? What you gonna do?
I remember back I don't know if it was episode 2 or 3 ever. And I said, I've never seen a Bad Boys movie in my whole life. And you said, I can believe that. But Bad Boys Ride or Die coming out this weekend. And we also have The Watchers, which is a Shyamalan movie.
Yeah, and The Visit, which we just talked about, is also a Shyamalan movie. So that's fun. Again, a lot of horror movies coming out, which is cool. Yeah, Bad Boys, I think I've seen... My most distinct memory with Bad Boys is one of my favorite movies of all times is Hot Fuzz. And they bring it up in that movie, like when the one guy hasn't seen any action movies, and the one guy is like, you need to see all these action movies. And he goes, Point Break or Bad Boys 2. And he goes, which one do you think I'd prefer? And he says, no, which one do you want to watch first? And they watch them. So I watched both of those movies just for that movie quote, because that's who I am. And that's
the kind of, yeah. You're deep into the lore of Hot Fuzz.
Yeah.
What makes these characters tick?
Yeah. You don't just watch the movie. You watch what they watch, and that's how you
Yes.
grow. Awesome.
Lovely.
Yeah, so that's what we got coming out this weekend. And we did want to talk about briefly, because I was so excited for Furiosa, and I loved it. I really liked the movie, but I would suggest you go see it. It's really good. We talked about Thor himself is in this movie, and he plays a villain, Chris Hemsworth. And Christopher, he is full-on villain in the best way. Like, he's funny, but it's dark and messed up, and it's just like, I think it's a great villain. It was just really cool. But the interesting thing is they say this is the lowest. That movie in Garfield came out Memorial Day weekend, and it's the lowest grossing theater, like making money in the Memorial Day weekend in 40 years.
That's insane.
What does that say to you? What do you think that
40, 1984?
The year before Back to the Future.
I think, yeah, and then Back to the Future really spiked it up there. No, my first thought is like, people are emphasizing being outside, being together. But unfortunately, they're not being together in a movie theater, watching a movie, which is a really fun way to be together, in my opinion. But people maybe just aren't doing that on holidays. I don't know. Maybe movies, do you think movies are becoming less of a holiday weekend thing?
I don't know, because I never grew up being a holiday movie person. I loved movies so much that I was always like, this is a weekly or, several times a month thing for me. That typically holidays were more about family, because I've already seen the movie I want to see, because I see it as soon as it's possible.
Opening day. Yeah.
Opening day. Yeah. It's just like, people are like, we would talk about a lot going to like Return of the King. And that was such, Christmas Day is such a big movie time. Did you ever go see movies on Christmas Day?
We would do some Christmas Day movies. Mostly our movie holiday was Halloween, because we didn't, practice or believe, I guess. We didn't practice Halloween, so we didn't hand out candy or get dressed up at all.
I love it.
But I'll tell you, we came up with a movie idea in response to one year my mom made us turn off all the lights in our house and lay down in our living room floor, just like lay in the living room and hide from all the trick-or-treaters like they were like demons coming to get us. And after that, my dad was like, we need to leave. We need to do something. We can't do this again.
Yeah, that's
so
fair.
After the year of hiding from trick-or-treaters, we decided, we'll go see a movie.
Go see a movie.
Go see a movie. And that's the episode.
I was going to say that it just ends right there. That's interesting. Yeah, I've never been a holiday movie goer, but that's such a big thing. And especially like a Memorial Day weekend, like we're getting into spring. It feels like that would have been. And we talked about how there was a cool, like more adult action movie, and there was a more cartoon, fun family movie. It felt like you can't go wrong, even just with those two new movies. But
yeah, it was definitely very intentional, like those two movies coming out on that weekend. But
yeah,
oopsies.
And I think there's a big problem too. They talk about how all these movies coming out right now, these big budget movies, are tanking. And I think a lot of it is just people are tired of certain movies and certain themes. And it's like, there's nothing new. So it doesn't feel like, why would I go see that movie? I just don't think there's a big draw right now. And I think that's also why we're seeing so many horror movies, because they are so much less expensive to make. Like, I mean, they said Furiosa made $30 million opening weekend, and it like cost, hundreds of millions. I didn't even look it up, but then we just talked about that. What Watchers was made, or sorry, not Watchers. The Visit was made for, it was like thousands, I think.
50. It was 50 million, his lowest budget ever.
It was in the millions. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
But still, it's just such a lower thing without even advertising. Some of these movies you have to clear 400, 500,000, or that's not that much, million, 500 million just to break, just to make money. And it's just like a 30 million opening weekend kills the franchise, really.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I misspoke. It was 5 million.
Okay. I thought it was a pretty small movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. 50 million is how much Robert Downey Jr. made for Endgame, I believe.
Oh, wow.
Just,
I'll do that.
Yeah, I would take that page. But I don't know. I think it says a lot, which it's kind of like, I think there could be some good coming out of this. I'm not someone who's like afraid of movie trends because I think it's really just making things better. I'm bummed because it feels like we probably won't get another Mad Max movie, and I love that series. The director has done all of them, but he's 80, and I think this really kind of cut the why would you make another one if this one bombed kind of thing. Maybe not, but it's a long shot, so that's a bummer. But at the same time, if Hollywood is changing, we talked a lot about like you can't bring out Madam Web when Dune 2 is in the next theater. Like the quality is going to survive. And
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, Andrew, I'm going on this rant here, and this wasn't even part of our planned episode.
Do it. I'm here for it.
But people always talk about, and I think there is rhythms of good movies versus bad movies, but I feel like a lot of movie lovers are like, movies suck right now. And I can see that, but there's a lot of good movies coming out too. And I think when you look back at each year, you're going to name several movies that you loved and that were really good, and it's just another year. So if you're like, this movie was terrible, it's like, oh yeah, but then you can list off these few movies. They're like, those were great. And at the end of the day, if you just have a few great movies a year that you loved, like that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. If you have 5 movies that you loved watching in a year, I think that's a huge win.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we have a lot of trailers coming out for like sequels or prequels of movies that are getting all sorts of flack, which is weird to say because I am into almost, like I'll watch almost anything. So like I think of the third Venom movie. I think of like all the people talking crap about that. And they're like, Sony just needs to stop. And it's like, well, if you approach it as just like a fun, irreverent Venom movie, then maybe you'll have a good time. Maybe you need to fix your attitude, right? Maybe don't approach it like you would approach a Spider-Man MCU movie. I think of The Acolyte, which is premiering. A lot of people are...
I thought about that. Like it's right now. It's coming out right now.
It's immediately, yeah.
We're recording this on Tuesday night, June 4th, and it is premiering.
Yes, yeah. Speaking of which, I gotta go.
I was gonna say I'm actually watching it.
Yeah. But it's just like people have Star Wars fans, that could be a whole episode. Star Wars fans have like it out for Star Wars until it's all finished and released. They hate a project, and it's so weird. Alien Romulus, another trailer that came out. I've seen mostly good things about it because of the director and the decisions he's made, but still a lot of people, I think it's just the internet overload. People just make fun of stuff.
Yeah. I think that's why we also wanted this podcast to not be a critique. I follow several like great critique movie critics that I love to watch. And so like, I have nothing against that, but like, I just wanted to be like, let's just have a podcast that's fun and has fun talking about movies. We're excited to see, and some of those movies don't meet our expectations, but it's fun to get excited about movies. Like we are so stoked for Alien Romulus, and
dude, so stoked.
Yeah. We're going to see it together. So even if it's terrible, we're going to have fun time doing it.
Yeah. But it won't be terrible.
No, it won't. I was going to say, so I have not seen the trailer, and I just had a conversation today. I try sometimes to not watch trailers just because I know I'm going to see it. I'm in, and I don't want anything like, not even like spoiled, which sometimes that happens with trailers. It's just like, oh, that was the whole movie. But at the same time, I'm like, I know I'm going to see it. So I want to like keep those images and my thoughts out of it. Let me just go in raw, and just like, I'm in, you've sold me. I will buy my ticket. I will see it multiple times, So you have seen the trailer. Did you like it? Were you excited?
Yeah. So typically, with like a Spider-Man movie, an Alien movie, something I'm really excited about, like you said, like my ticket is already bought. You don't need to advertise to me anymore. I will watch the teaser, and I will maybe watch the first trailer. I did this with the sequel Star Wars movies as well, where that first trailer I would watch, and that was it. And then as they progress in like trailer 2, trailer 3, getting closer to the movie, it's just too much information. Like I don't need to know the plot points. Show me the characters doing cool stuff, and I'm going to go. So I did enjoy the first trailer. It was almost too much. Like at the end of it, I was like, should I have watched that? So I would recommend you don't watch it.
Oh, the trailer for Romulus was too much?
Yeah, for
Or you
Romulus.
think it
Maybe
shared
it
too
was
much?
it was maybe too much. However, I read online that the director's favorite scenes were not in trailer 1 at all.
Cool.
So that was encouraging, and I felt like, okay, I could maybe watch this in a month, like the first trailer, watch it again in a month, and then see the movie the next month. You know, get my hit of Alien.
Oh yeah, I just need that sweet hit. I was I love about The Acolyte. I'm excited. I want to see that show. And what I was really excited is I think it's the director or showrunner, I can't remember, Leslie Headland, said that the trailer and the scene that we got, if anybody went to see The Phantom Menace in theaters, there was a little scene after the movie of The Acolyte. That scene and the trailer that we have released are only in the first 2 episodes.
Whoa.
Which I think that's cool. I love that kind of stuff because then I can watch the trailer, I can get excited, but I don't feel like I'm losing, like surprises or anything like that.
Yeah, give me a teaser for the first hour of the 8 hours of content. Absolutely. Man, couldn't agree more. Very excited for what's coming up this year. It's going to be a good year.
It's going to be a great year. Let's oh yeah. What do you got?
No, I was going to say, let's do our Spielberg movies. I'm excited. Are you ready for that?
Yeah, so we're going to jump right in to top 10 Spielberg movies. We each have our list of 10. We're going to be breaking them down with the Gorley method. So if we bring up a movie, that's a number. We can't talk about it until it's on the other person's list, if it's higher. All right, let's do this. So who wants to go first?
Heath, I think you should go first.
I should go first?
Yeah.
Da, 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 da,
Is this the Jeopardy theme song?
My number
Jeopardy,
10.
wasn't it?
No, it wasn't. It was the theme for my number 10, which is Schindler's List.
Wow, that's your number 10?
Yes. Okay, here's the reason. Is it higher for you?
It's higher for me.
Okay, then we won't talk about it. Good job.
Shut your mouth.
I will save it for the pod.
Save it.
I will say real quick, I'm not going to talk about the movie, but this is a movie that I needed to watch because I hadn't seen it before.
Oh, yeah.
So there's like one movie I was like, Andrew, I feel like I need to watch one movie if we're going to do this episode that I have not seen yet because I feel like it's going to be on here. And that is Schindler's List. So we'll talk about that movie when we get to your point.
Great. Okay. My number 10 is Lincoln.
Ooh, it's not on my list.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah.
I was expecting us to have like the first 4 like on each other's list.
Right.
Yeah. So Lincoln, I watched it in high school. This was my first Daniel Day-Lewis movie. Very good actor. He like seldom acts. Like it has to be like a really great role, and he just devotes so much to it. So that's really cool. But yeah, it's one of my first exposures outside of some classics for Spielberg, which we'll get to.
Yeah. Oh, there's probably not any classics on this.
No, probably not.
No. Yeah, no, I love that movie as well. It just didn't happen to make my top 10, which this is hard.
Yeah.
This is a director that's so good, and he has so many. You could pick an era, and and you would just be satisfied with those movies. I think if someone is like, I only want to watch one director's movies, or I only watch 15 or 20 movies in my lifetime, like I feel like you could not go wrong with Steven Spielberg. Like he is just
couldn't agree more.
So good.
Okay,
All
what's your number 9?
My number 9 is his first movie. It was straight to TV called Duel.
Never seen it and not on my list.
Highly recommend. It's a great rent. I watched it in a hotel room, and there's something special about that hotel room movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Kick your shoes off,
sit on that completely made bed.
Yes.
With 4 pillows.
Delightful. It's like, and then you ask for more pillows.
Yeah. Yep.
Amazing. So Duel is a really cool movie. It's basically about this guy who gets stalked by a trucker and you don't even see the trucker. So he's driving his car, and like basically he like, you know, passes this guy, and then this truck like kind of like keeps like inching forward and like, you know, riding his bumper and stuff like that. And it's a thriller. It's so hard, I think, if you haven't seen it, but go watch a trailer for it. But it is very suspense. You can very much feel like pre-Jaws kind of like intensity there. And it's just so cool that like this is such a classic movie. This is his first movie. And then this is the movie that George Lucas saw. He was like at a party and he went into another room to watch a movie, which sounds very much like George Lucas.
Yeah,
and that was his first exposure to be like, dude, this, well, he probably didn't say dude. What did they say back in the 60s or 70s?
Whoa, man.
Groovy. This Spielberg is really groovy.
This cat's off the hook.
Dynamite.
Dynamite.
So yeah, Duel is a great movie. Highly recommend that movie.
Cool. Nice.
What is your number 9?
Number 9 for me is Hook.
It's not on my list.
Wow. Okay. Dustin Hoffman, Robin Williams, Julia Roberts. Can't go wrong. It's really good. What I remembered, I watched the trailer because it's been many years since I've seen that movie. And I had like a moment where I was like, wait a second. Peter didn't marry Wendy? Because Wendy is like that super old lady in like the real world. But by the time he like comes to, like by the time he leaves Neverland, the age discrepancy is like massive. And so he's like 30 or 40 and she's like 90 years old. It's like, oh, buddy. So he just kind of treats her like a mother, I guess, which is weird, but great movie. Love that movie.
Yeah. Once again, a John Williams score as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wonderful.
That's a great movie as well. That's another thing too. I do want to emphasize that I love so many Steven Spielberg. If it's not on my top 10, it's like, I also love that movie.
Yeah.
All right. So my number 8 is Catch Me If You Can.
It's on my list and higher.
Okay, great. Then we'll save it. So what's your number 8?
My number 8 is Bridge of Spies.
I have never seen that movie.
Really?
Yeah.
You mentioned hotel movies, and I first saw this movie in a hotel. I was staying in a hotel with my dad for like a boys' weekend, and I was like, he was flipping through movies, and we found this movie. Very much Kevin McKay to watch a Tom Hanks movie that's like anti-communist, just classic 1960s America.
This is all I want to be.
My dad was a lawyer. Tom Hanks is a lawyer, and he just ate this movie up.
I was gonna say, was your dad getting like jazzed, like as he was watching?
Yeah, he was
just like
he was
nodding
so
his head, and he's like, yeah, that's right.
He'd like Tom Hanks is like doing stuff in court, and my dad would be like, "That would never fly," but I'm okay with it if it's Tom Hanks. That's so cool.
Yeah,
like, all right,
do anything. He is America's grandpa.
That's true.
Yeah, I do want to watch that movie. I have never seen it.
It's a fun one.
I do have a quick hotel room story though. I was staying at we were going somewhere with my family, so it's appropriate. But we had 2 double beds. I was pretty young. I want to say 8 maybe, and we had 2 beds, and this is classic like family road trip setup. So me and my dad were sharing a bed, and my sister and my mom were sharing a bed, which is always like, oh, that's so odd that we did. But anyways, you do what you gotta do. Anyways, so my sister apparently got up in the night to go to the bathroom and then didn't want to wake anybody up. So she didn't flush the toilet. And so she came back to bed and basically was like, I, who was asleep, woke up to a door opening, complete blackness, door opening, click, swing, and then someone walks in. So my first thought is someone just broke in our room, and it's going to attack my family. So I was like 8, like I said, and I take my elbow and I just jam my dad in the ribs as hard as I can, because in my brain, I'm like, this is go time. Like we gotta defend the family. Let's go. It's like, I just love the idea too of a burglar like coming into a room, like I'm gonna rob all 4 of these people right now. And then for me to see like through the darkness, my sister's silhouette, who doesn't even notice, and then just she like gets into bed and goes to sleep. And my dad, I still remember when I just checked him in the ribs as hard as I could. He just goes, "Oh, don't do that." And then I felt like a moron, so we all just went back to sleep.
Oh, I'm crying.
That's a good one. It's a good one. But let that be known that 8-year-old Heath was ready to throw hands. So
No. You weren't ready to throw hands. You were ready for your dad to throw hands.
I was ready to watch him throw hands.
Yes. You were ready to say, "Dad, someone's here."
Get him.
Just the fact that he was like, "Oh, don't do that," and then just went back to sleep.
Like,
oh, so funny.
Oh, it was so great. That was a fun moment. Okay, so my number 7.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
I'm
Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Not on my list.
Do. Yeah, it's a really interesting, like,
That's also John Williams.
It is. There's a lot of a lot of Jay Wills in Steven Spielberg. Jay Wills. Yeah, which is a really fun part of the movie, that they learn to communicate to the force that be through melodies. Like, a lot of people theorize that if aliens showed up, you could talk, like math would be a language that you could kind of use to, and they just took a different idea with, like, I bet we could understand tones, and we could, you know,
vibrations through the air,
you know, like
interesting
tones could signify emotion, and it's a cool idea. But yeah, this is after Jaws, and it's just a really interesting story. Richard Dreyfuss, and he encounters these other beings, and it's a super interesting movie. Yeah, highly recommend to view.
Wow,
cool. Yeah, so what you got
number
for
7
yours
is Terminal.
Never seen it.
Oh, wow. Also Tom Hanks. Apparently I'm a big Steven Spielberg. Wow.
That's what his wife calls him after a couple margaritas.
Mr. Spielberg. Whoa.
I apologize. Anyway. Little PG.
Steven Spielberg and Tom Hanks teaming up.
Yeah.
Terminal's great. I like that movie. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
Can't keep it together.
For Steven Spielberg. No, that's on my list. Honestly, it's one of my goals that I'm trying to watch all of Steven Spielberg movies, and it's just there's a couple I haven't hit, and I'm like, I love them so much, and there's several big ones. I'm like, I've never seen The Terminal, so I'd love to do that. So that's the one. Tom Hanks is like trapped in an airport, right?
Yeah. So he's like he's not immigrating. He's traveling. His residency is a different country, like Romania or something like that. And the UN like halts recognizing his country as a country. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so he's in the United States, but he's past immigration in the airport. So he's not in the United States, and he can't fly to any other country because his passport is invalid because the UN doesn't recognize his country as existing. So he's stuck in this medium, in this terminal. That's what the movie's about.
Yeah, and once again, Tom Hanks can hold a movie by himself, as we've seen.
He sure can.
It's crazy. So yeah, definitely want to watch that. Okay, so now it's I'm still laughing about Steven Spielberg, but we'll move on.
Your number 6.
My number 6 is E.T.
My number 6 is E.T.
Oh, beautiful. Why don't you start us off? What you love?
No, you got to do it.
No, I'll go. No, yeah. We have fun here. Our whole podcast is just no, after you. That's what people want to listen to, right?
Uh-huh.
E.T., yeah, it's a family movie. Man, it was like the number one for so long. It was one of those movies that just like kept going. It's really, most people know it's about a small alien that comes, and then like a boy, like a small boy, like finds him and befriends him. It's a classic like kids like growing up movie. There's a lot, man. If you haven't seen it lately, go watch the first 15 minutes and you're going to be like, holy Stranger Things, because so much of the vibe and feel of especially the first season of Stranger Things comes from E.T. And I don't think it's a bad thing at all. It's just, it's really cool that they've pulled that, but it's like, man, they're playing a D&D. They're talking back to each other, the bikes, it's all very much that feel.
I mean, 1982, there's a very specific, when you're going to tap into the nostalgia of that time. I mean, you were 21 at this point, 1982.
Right. Yep. I had just crested really the 21st.
So impressive.
Of my year.
So anyway, you got to go to bed soon? What's
Yeah, I could stay up for another 10 minutes.
Oh, okay. All right. Great.
It's almost 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you love about E.T.?
I love E.T. It's one of my earliest movie rental memories. Is my dad and mom like picking E.T. for our family Saturday movie night. So it was like, got your PJs on, you get some unbuttered, unsalted popcorn, because that's what my mom would allow in the house.
She didn't believe in salt?
No. Or heaven forbid we have butter. And I think she still, to this day, will just eat popped kernels, just raw. Yeah. But
I've done
a fun family time.
I've done a couple diets where it's like cut out dairy, and like butter and stuff like that. And so I've done popped kernels with just sea salt on them, which is still really good, like homemade popcorn with just sea salt, but no salt. I feel like
just a bunch of kernels.
Yeah,
it doesn't go like the party does not eat that snack. There's leftovers.
It's still there. That's the you try to freeze it, put it in your eggs the next morning.
It doesn't reheat well. I'll tell you that.
I do want to share. This is my favorite physical media Blu-ray I own. And it is E.T. right here. For the video viewers, you can see it. It's a really cool case. So it's a VHS style.
Oh, that's cool.
Tape case, but it's just a Blu-ray in there. So I just love that because it just looks like it's got like frayed kind of edges and stuff, and it just looks cool. It's not worth anything. I looked it up on eBay. It's like $5. You can get your own. But
it's actually devalued.
Yeah, somehow it's less. We talked about that, I think, on our episode on Extreme Days, how that movie, the soundtrack is worth more than the movie itself, which just cracks me up. Okay, so our next one here, my number 5 is Jurassic Park.
Whoa, it's on my list. It's higher.
Okay.
I'm surprised it's not higher for you.
Well, here's we're getting. So I love all the movies on these lists. I love so many Spielberg movies, but here's these are some of my favorite movies of all time. We're talking.
That's true. Okay, it's a good point.
Okay, so what's your number 5 then?
So my number 5 is Catch Me If You Can.
Okay, great. So that was my number 8. So let's talk about it.
Yeah. It's just so fun. Leonardo DiCaprio and Steven Spielberg, apparently. I remember very distinctly the impression that I got from the movie with that scene. It was pretty early on when he enters his own classroom and the kid makes fun of him. And then he goes, I understand what I have to do now. And he pretends to be the teacher and just like super embarrasses that kid. And I was like, man, if I ever step my foot into a classroom, because I was homeschooled, that's definitely the kind of guy that I would be. And I just remember like loving that so much.
And as a teacher, do you find that is that is what you do?
That's the dumbest thing that I could ever. No, if I watched a student do that, I'd be like, what are you doing? You obviously are 16 years old. You don't look like a 22-year-old.
You mean like what a child says to you and threatening, like you don't have to take that seriously?
I will say that like the substitute teacher that lady who walks in and she's like, "This is my classroom," or whatever. And he's like, "No, it's mine." If there was someone who looked at least 19 years old, 20 years old, and they were like, "Hey, this is my room," and as a sub, which I subbed for a couple of years, I would have been like, "Okay, see ya."
Yeah.
And I go to the office and be like, "Hey, where am I supposed to go?" So that's super believable.
I don't know if I should say this, but yeah, they always say, what is it? Confidence and holding a ladder will get you into a lot of places.
Yes, yeah.
Like if you're just like a guy like holding like a ladder, like walking in.
It's like, "Oh, hold the door," and they're like,
Oh,
"Okay."
sorry, I got to get in here to
Yeah.
finagle with a light, you know?
Ah, man, those light bulbs.
Yeah, so
Anyway,
if you need to go
number
see
4.
an early screening of Alien Romulus, take a ladder with you.
Oh, that's a good idea.
So, yes. Okay, so let's go for my number 4
Yeah.
is Indiana Jones and The Last Crusade.
It's not on my list. Continue.
Ooh, okay. So I love that movie. The Last Crusade it's crazy. That was the third movie, and that was one of those examples of how that is such a good third entry to a series. Obviously Sean Connery with Harrison Ford, and it's a great movie. It's like, man, I love it. It's the one where they're down in like the aqueducts, and they go in to find like the knight's tomb. They're looking for the Holy Grail, and it's just like, it's a movie that's like, it's a sequel in the best ways. Like, it's another great sequel.
Yeah.
Which honestly, this is spoiler alert, and if it's on your list, I won't talk about it anymore. But Temple of Doom did not make my list. Is that on yours?
Same. It's not on my list.
Okay. So that was hard for me because I was like, I kind of wanted to put it on my list because I'm someone who like loves Temple of Doom, but I love it because it's so different. I mean, it literally starts with a Korean version of Anything Goes, from the musical. And it's just like, that is so Steven Spielberg being like, you think you know what you're going to get. Anything goes. And then it starts off with the James Bond homage, which is so cool.
Yeah.
So love Temple of Doom. Props to Temple of Doom. But yeah, Last Crusade. And so this isn't on your list, but I know you love this movie. Is there anything you want to say about Last Crusade?
It's remarkable how the third entry goes back to the like Indiana Jones like archetype, maybe, or like I think what I'm trying to say is, yeah, like the form, the structure, because you have Raiders of the Lost Ark, and that kind of sets like, okay, Indiana Jones, this is what the kind of adventure movie standard is going to be. And the second one, you're right, mixes it up. And then the third one is so Indiana Jones, it's almost more Indiana Jones than Raiders.
Yeah.
Like when I think of Indiana on the screen, most of the shots, most of the scenes are from The Last Crusade.
And I think that also speaks to most people. What would happen with that structure is Temple of Doom was the second one. It was not seen as favorable as the first. So they went back to the original, more of the original thing, Nazis, like a biblical artifact, things like that.
Sure.
But they did it well. I think most people would fail at that. Like if it's a series where they went away from form and they came back, but they'd be like, it's still not as good as the original, which that can be debated. But I was like, what a solid movie.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. What is your number 3? No, sorry. Your number 4.
Number 4 is Jaws.
It's on my list and it's higher.
I knew it.
Don't get.
What's your number 4?
My number 4 is The Last Crusade.
Oh,
we talked about it. Okay. So my number 3 is Saving Private Ryan.
Oh, very nice. It's not on my list.
Not on the list. It's sometimes, and I hope people who are watching or listening to this episode, it's like, even when I was making this list, like I forgot that was a Steven Spielberg movie.
Oh yeah,
like because he's done so much. You're like, oh yeah, Indiana Jones, Jaws guy, and he's like, oh yeah, he also did Saving Private Ryan. One of the most intense opening scenes of all times. Like so many people who fought in World War II were like, that's exactly what it was like. Like that was what the hitting the D-Day beach. It's heart-wrenching. It's heartbreaking. Tom Hanks, your boy.
My guy.
Yeah. It's an amazing movie. It's maybe my favorite war movie.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I always
would
feel the
agree.
need to preface myself, like, without saying a statement like it's the best war movie. Like, I always want to be like, well, it's my favorite. Like, I've never had anybody come after me and say, you know what, you're wrong. It's like, it's my opinion, right?
Yeah.
Oh man, that's my little rant. So
Chill out, Heath. You
Chill
can have
out.
an opinion.
I can have an opinion. You know
Yeah,
what?
you sure can.
I like movies.
Oh no.
Disagree. All right, so let's go to your number 3.
My number 3 is Schindler's List.
Yeah. So I'll just say this real quick. This movie, heart-wrenching. I had never seen it before. I knew it was going to make this list. I'm not a person who watches serious movies a lot. I'm more in for the popcorn fun time, or even the thriller. It's just like, I don't watch these types of movies. So that's why I think it's lower on my list. But it's like, you can't talk about Steven Spielberg without saying this. This is a movie he won Best Director and Best Picture for. And it belongs on his top 10 list. So the only reason it's my top 10 is just because it's not one of my favorite of his, but wow, an incredible film. So
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I watched this for the first time in high school, and immediately realized that this was such a heavy and intense movie that it was not like a frequent rewatch for me. Not because it's not amazing, because it is really, really amazing. But just, I can't, like, you don't just casually watch Schindler's List, you
Right.
know? So props to you for watching it for this pod.
yeah.
Yeah, it is one of his best movies. Obviously, it's my number 3 for him. And I think it's surprising that it is in the top 5, let alone the top 3. And I've only seen it 3 times in my whole life.
Mhm.
But every time, it has that same effect on me. Some movies die out, like in your heart, like how they affect you. But this one, every single time, it just like makes me cry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
So-
it's moving. I remember it was such a cultural phenomenon. I just remember even watching through Seinfeld, the TV show, and they talk
Mhm.
about it. And like, his parents are like, you need to go see this movie. This is so like powerful. And it was really cool. Also a little shout out to the documentary Spielberg. It is such a cool documentary on Steven Spielberg, and it goes through a lot of his movies. And they talk about in that how this basically, he was looking, Steven Spielberg was looking for these people, these survivors, to be in the end of the movie, which is like they're kind of walking past the grave site of Oskar Schindler,
Mhm.
kind of thanking him for all he did. And they had trouble like locating these people, and because of all of the all the countries, and obviously the Nazis were like kicking people out, bringing people in, killing people, and so they started the Shoah Foundation because of that movie, and because of like Steven Spielberg started it to be like, we need to save our history, we need to like, and I thought that was really cool. It's like, man, so much came out of that movie. Yeah, that was I believe it was his first Oscar. So this was, he got Best Director and Best Picture for that movie. Yeah, and the other Best Director is Saving Private Ryan, by the way. Those were his 3 Oscars, which he's won so many awards. But probably the 2 heart-wrenching scenes to me, which I don't want to talk about because I don't want to get emotional, when they took the kids away.
Yeah.
Couldn't handle it.
Nope.
And then the end, when he was like, I could have sold this car and gotten 10 people out with the money. Like, he saved 1,100 people. And he was like, this pin, he's like, this Nazi pin is made of gold. I could have sold this and gotten one more person out. Like, his realization, I think, finally, of how many people he saved, and how many, like, just that heartbreaking thing, And they, like, the end of the movie, they say there's only there was only 4,000. What did they say? In Poland, there was only 4,000, I believe, Jewish people left after World War II, and 1,100 of those people were saved by Oscar Schindler. Like, so he,
Wow.
like, that was incredible to me. It's like,
Yeah,
powerful story, powerful movie.
truly. Yeah, man. Yeah, so that was my number 3. Your number 2 is
Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark.
it's higher. Shut your mouth.
Oh, okay. I love that because my highest movie and this, which that'd be hilarious if we're reversed. I struggled.
we are.
My 2 and my 1 were
Yeah.
so like, is it like, I really had to play against what's my favorite and what's a better movie.
Oh, interesting.
And because I think they're both such high quality movies that I love. And I'm like, am I listening to my heart, you know?
Yeah.
Or which is the better movie? So yeah, okay. So that's my number 2. So what is your number 2?
My number 2 is Jurassic Park.
It's not.
What?
So, sorry.
Don't tell me what's on my list.
That's not your number 2. Okay. So no, sorry. I got, that was amazing. I forgot. We haven't talked about Jurassic Park yet. I thought my number 1 was going to be your number 2. Okay. So
I truly thought that was the case. Okay.
Yes,
So number
yep.
2, Jurassic Park.
So
Where was Jurassic Park on your list?
Jurassic Park was number 5.
That's crazy. Okay. We'll have this conversation.
Yeah. We're going to have to debrief after that.
Yeah,
I
seriously.
think we're both quitting the pod. So,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah. Let's hear your like, this is your number 2, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Number 2.
Jurassic
This
Park.
was the first Steven Spielberg movie I ever watched. It was at my friend's house, and I was probably 5 years old. So it was probably 2012, 2013, you know? As you didn't smile at that joke, and I was like, I wonder if these are going past him now. No, I was probably 5 years old.
I see them
And
driftly as they walk by. No, I was still confused about our numbering system, so I'm sorry.
you were thinking about something else.
Yeah, I was
No.
wondering.
I was 5-ish, and my friend put it on. He had a VHS and a tiny little like TV that had a VHS player built into the bottom of it. And we were
Classic.
we were playing with Lego in his room, and he just like popped in Jurassic Park, but he didn't rewind it from where he had stopped, and so the movie starts playing, and I was like, oh, what is
I'm
this movie?
confused.
Who's this like chubby guy driving in a Jeep? Why does he have a Barbasol can? And I watched him get sprayed in the face by that like
Yeah.
evil dinosaur thing, venom spitter, and it freaked me out so bad. I like yelled at him. I was like, "Turn it off! Turn it off!"
My mom doesn't allow me to have salt.
Yeah,
Turn this
literally.
off.
Like you think I can't? If I can't have butter and salt, you think I can watch a PG-13 movie? No.
That's
But
great.
I rewatched it when I was 13. I waited till I was 13. Watched it. I rented it. I got a DVD, a physical DVD from Netflix in the mail.
Well,
Yeah.
Netflix, that used to be a thing. Man, when you said TV with a VHS player attached, I have so many fond memories of those because it felt like those were always like the friend's room or the basement TV, just like
Yeah.
that associated with like, well, that's the one we got the N64 hooked up. Like there was just like,
Yes.
those
Oh,
TVs
yeah.
were just fun. Like,
That's the TV for the boys.
yeah. No one's watching the news on that. You know what I mean?
No.
It's like, this is fun. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I actually had
Okay.
another scary encounter with Jurassic Park.
Yes, please do tell.
So we were at these my parents' friend's house. So they had some kids. So it was like, like when you go with your parents to everywhere. And everyone. So I think I was 5. And so it was my whole family and their whole family had dinner together and just hanging out. And this guy had a new surround sound system for his TV. And he was like so stoked about it. He was like, you should hear Jurassic Park. It sounds so good. And I had never seen it before. And so they put it on and like we all were in the basement, lights are off. He has this big TV, which it was in the 90s. So it was probably like 24 inches. But then he plays the surround sound, and it did sound like he's like, it feels like the dinosaurs are in the room, and I'm like covering my eyes, like they are in the room.
We got to get out of here.
And I remember my dad looking down at me, just like seeing me like wilting on the floor, like covering my eyes, and he's like, "All right, well, I think we should leave."
Oh, that's so funny. That TV was probably as deep as it was tall.
Yeah, it was maybe even deeper. Sometimes I'm like,
yeah,
why are
probably.
they this deep? Yeah, Jurassic Park, another great movie. Man, that almost made some of our best opening scenes episode, just because.
You're right.
Which it makes sense. Why you didn't want to have that one is because you hadn't seen it. Because you've only seen it from the Jeep scene on. Like,
Yeah,
I don't identify with that scene. But yeah, that's another just like a thrilling, like when they're moving the raptor cage and he like, oh, the transfer's going on. And it's like so like misty, very like Spielberg. Like it's just like the lighting.
Yeah.
It's a huge thing about Spielberg. It's just the lights are like just like through like a haze, and it's just so like mystical and fantastical. It's like, oh, you know it's a Spielberg movie.
Just gorgeous.
All right, so now I'm going to my number one, which I thought this was going to be yours. So maybe I know what your number one is, right? My number one is Jaws.
Oh, of course. Duh. I should have seen that coming.
I
Beautiful.
love Jaws. I watch it probably a couple times a year, at least once a year.
Yeah.
I remember I was on vacation with my wife and her family, and it was a time where my daughter needed to go to bed, and they wanted to go to like a later dinner. So they went out to dinner, and I stayed there with Lucy, and I put her to bed. And so it was just me in the house. I ordered some Chinese food. Great time.
Oh, nice.
And I put on Jaws. And they come home, and it's not quite done yet. And they're like, why are you watching Jaws? Like, it's like, I'm sure, like, not in a weird way, just, but like, that's such a random movie that you chose to put on. And I'm like, oh, I love this movie. I watch it like all the time.
Well, you're like, who do you think I
Yeah.
am? What kind of person asked Heath, why are you watching Jaws?
Exactly. It's like, why am I not watching Jaws? That's when you know
exactly.
something's up. It's like, hey, you okay? You didn't finish your Jaws, buddy. But they also, it was great. They also, a few of them like sat there and finished the movie with me, because it's like,
Oh, that's
it's
nice.
that good. It's like, man, this was Spielberg's, I believe, so technically his second like major, but like Hollywood released movie.
Mhm.
This was his like third movie he had made overall. It is so clean and straightforward, and it's just great characters, great story, thrilling. It's just like, I mean, it's like one of the first like blockbuster films, and like the joke is that he made an entire generation afraid of water, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I know this isn't on your list, but do you have anything to say about Jaws? Because I know you are also a Jaws enjoyer.
I mean, it is on my list. It was just higher up.
Oh, it's higher up than...
No, it was like, I'm sorry, lower. Like,
oh, that's right. That's
it was
right.
number
You called
4.
it out. But yeah, do you have anything to say about it?
Really, really good movie. Genre defining, people afraid of water. I'm just reiterating all the things that you said. I can't remember the first time I watched Jaws. Yeah, just really great. Like, it's a classic.
Yeah.
The soundtrack. I think Steven Spielberg's consistently getting John Williams to do his stuff is a good move by him. So
Yeah. And,
you said it all, man. You said it all.
Well, I was gonna say I've got a lot, and I'm a big Lego fan, and they're coming out with a Orca, which is the boat Lego set with Bruce the shark.
Did you? We recently were talking about Godzilla -1.
Yes.
And how I watched that recently. Did you catch the Jaws reference in there?
I think so. I remember saying that's Jaws when I watched it.
Yeah. It was when Godzilla's like swimming behind their boat, and they're dropping bombs.
Yeah.
And one like gets caught in his mouth, and they're like, we got to shoot it. I was like, oh, this is so Jaws. I love this.
Yeah. I think we need to talk about Godzilla -1.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And we might have to have Andrew Clark back on, because I originally said, hey, do you want to do an episode with us? And he goes, yes, I want to do Godzilla -1. And I'm like, we can't, because it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
That was before it was out on streaming. So yeah, I want to rewatch that movie, but I think we'll have to do a movie talk about that soon.
I would love it.
Oh, great. Okay, so let's go to your number one.
Yeah. My number one is Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Dun da dun da dun da da.
Dun, da, da.
Sing it to me.
So fun. We've mentioned this before in the pod that it's like 3 or 4 different little episodic adventures, all connected with the same overarching theme. Indiana Jones as a character has one of the best introductions ever. The music, outstanding. The film, like the cinematography, is interesting. It keeps you engaged. It's under 2 hours long. It's like an hour 40 or something like that. So it's like you can watch it anytime. And just Harrison Ford is always a hit. Every single thing he's in, I love it. What else about Raiders? I think that's it. What do you got?
I was going to say, this is obviously this is the one I was always like, is this my number one? Is Jaws my number one? And I just, I don't know. I struggled between those two so much. And, I had a hard time. I went for a walk, I stared at a lake. There's a lot of problems that can be fixed by staring at a lake. But anyways, I think I will say this over and over again. Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark does not have an ounce of fat on it. Like there is no like, I'm bored.
You're so right.
I'm like, they could have cut that and made it. It's like, it is a perfect movie. I'm going to be bold. I'm not going to apologize. I'm going to say it. It's perfect. It's such
I will say that the only critique that I've heard.
Here we go. That's it. I'm off the pod.
The only critique that I've heard that I have given my ear to, and I say, go on, about this movie is that Indiana Jones did not alter the outcome of anything over the entire span of the movie. And I'm okay with that, honestly. I think in other movies that might be like, oh, then what's the point of Indiana Jones? Everyone else is dead. So like, who's going to know the story? He ultimately like recovers the Ark because everyone dies. So I guess he has that effect, but then the Ark goes into storage. Yeah, but I thought that was like interesting that, truthfully, he didn't keep the Nazis' intentions from happening. He was just kind of tagging along like, hey, don't do that. Stop it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I hear you and I love you.
But I hate you.
No, I hear that. I hear that argument for sure. And I understand that. But that's also, I think I've come to say like, that's one of the reasons I love it because he's us.
Oh, yeah.
He's the audience.
Yeah.
Like, and it's like, I think he did at the end help deliver, the Ark to the archives as opposed to Hitler. So that was good. But it just would have sat on the island.
Plus one for Indiana.
Yeah, a plus one. But man, I would say like he feels so real. He's such a real character. And I think that's why it's like he's experiencing all these things. He's reacting to them. He's trying. And I think that feels like us. Like if you're like, hey, this massive weapon is going to go to Hitler. It's like, well, what do I got to do to stop it?
Yeah.
Man, we just recently were together and watched the stunt show, the Indiana Jones stunt show.
Yeah.
That was so cool. That's still hitting. Awesome. So anything else you want to say about Stevie Spielberg?
Steven Spielberg? No, man. We've said it all.
I do have a couple other things to say. Some honorable mentions that he produces a lot of movies, especially in the 80s, and 2 movies that are not Steven Spielberg, but I feel like they have him in mind so much. He produced both these movies, is Goonies and Back to the Future. And I feel like they feel so much like a Steven Spielberg movie. I would also be curious, like how much did he have a hand in those? Because producer can mean never talk to the director, just gave him money. Or producer can mean on the set every day. And I feel like Spielberg was very much, and nothing against like Robert Zemeckis who directed Back to the Future, but like, man, I feel like Steven Spielberg was on that set and kind of like set up some stuff. Like, I don't know, it just, they
for sure
feel so much like him. And what a cool director. What a fun batch of movies.
Man, some of the greatest ever.
Yeah. Amazing. All right. That's all we have for today. Why don't you take us home?
Hey, thanks for listening, everyone. As always, you can find our full video show on YouTube. You can listen to our podcast anywhere you get podcasts. Follow us on Instagram. Like, comment, share any of our posts, any of our reels. Helps us grow the show. Comment when a reel comes out for the Spielberg stuff. Comment your favorite Steven Spielberg movie. Let us know what it is. We love movies. We hope that this weekend you will go see a movie.
Go see a movie.